Hi, a very good morning to you. Welcome. It's good to see all of you. This is R.N. Bhaskar from BKBB, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Key Business Party. This is a channel that comes to you with policy analysis, with conversations, and occasionally with business stories. But right now, at 8:15 in the morning, we have news behind the news, and that is what we bring to you. And today my co-anchors are Hussaina, welcome. Saloni, welcome again. And Sanjay, welcome to you too. The three of them together will discuss the following stories that are given on the screen. The first one is about current deficit. What does it mean? Is it good for India? And the second one is on government policies and how they have queered the pitch for the sugarcane industry in one way or the other. And the third one is, despite all favors and the red carpet rolled out for Tesla, customers are not willing to lap up its first product in the market. Okay, let's go to the first story, and that is on current deficit. Hussaina, could you come in?
Yes, sir. So India's current account deficit or CAD has seen a surprising fall in the first quarter of FY26, coming down to just 0.2% of GDP, or to put it in other words, $2.4 billion. Now that is a sharp dip from $8.6 billion deficit in the same quarter last year. So, what does this actually mean? And more importantly, can India sustain this? So, to begin with, why is CAD important? Well, it tracks the difference between what India earns from the rest of the world through exports, services, and remittances, and what it spends. So, a lower CAD, which we are currently seeing, means that we are sending less money abroad than before, with something most economies aim for. So this drop in CAD, however, have happened despite high imports. So what helped is two main things: a surge in net services income and an 18% rise in remittances as Indians abroad send more money home. Also, because of US tariffs, most of the companies rushed exports to the US, giving a short term boost. But here's the catch: even though we are facing surplus CAD, and it is a good thing, this improvement may be short lived because many economists have projected that the CAD to worsen in FY26, potentially even touching 2.1% of GDP, mainly due to the impact of US tariffs again. And nearly 60% of India's exports to the US could be affected, which will lead to a wider merchandise trade gap. And RBI data already shows July's trade deficit for this year. However, it is important to note that just a quarter earlier, which is quarter 4 of FY25, India recorded a surplus CAD of $13.5 billion or 0.3% of GDP, which was again driven by remittances and net service receipts. But with weaker exports and rising imports in quarter 1 this year, that surplus flipped back to a deficit. And as mentioned earlier, that low CAD is though a good thing. It for India, it is right now is because it helps by easing pressure on the rupee and supporting foreign exchange reserves. But a high CAD can destabilize the rupee, fuel inflation, and also force the RBI to raise interest rates, potentially hurting our economic growth. And with rupee recently touching an all-time low of rupees 83.33 against the US dollar, it is expected to remain volatile. And foreign investors are watching the tariff situation closely, and unless a resolution is reached soon, pressure on the rupee and the CAD will likely rise again. So while low CAD is beneficial for India, we need to understand that India's low CAD in quarter one is more of a result of short-term inflows than structural change. So with US tariffs looming and the trade deficit widening, the question, sir, I think isn't whether CAD will rise in future, but it is how will India sustain this current account deficit? What do you think, sir?
You're absolutely right, Hussaina. A very important piece of news because people will cheer and politicians say, look, we have reduced our current account deficit. But this, as you rightly point out, is short term. With the rupee falling, imports are going to get more expensive, and India cannot do without these imports because without the imports, we cannot export. We are an import intensive country.
Right.
And so the only alternative the government has, which is what it's trying to do, is boost consumption. But people must have purchasing power. And for purchasing power, you need jobs. So we are caught in a cleft stick. Let's see what happens. But as you rightly point out, this does not mean there's a cause for cheer. It may get worse and more turbulent. Thanks. And that takes us to the second story. And the second story is by Saloni on sugarcane.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the Indian government has allowed the production of ethanol from sugarcane juice, syrup, and all type of molasses. This notification was issued on Monday, stating that this production will be without any quantitative restrictions beginning from the ethanol supply year 2025-2026, which starts from November the 1st. But this is not the main news. The news is that after this notification was released, the shares of leading sugar mills surged sharply. According to PTI, Rajashri Sugars and Chemicals jumped by 20% on the Bombay Stock Exchange, while Sri Renuka Sugars rallied 12.7%. Dwarikesh Sugar gained 12.5%, Dhampur Sugar climbed 10.4%, Sakti Sugar advanced 8.3%, and the other counters, including Awadh Sugar, Balrampur Chini Mills, Bajaj Hindustan Sugar, Mavana Sugars, and Uttam Sugar also ended higher. This rise in shares has increased investor sentiment. Deepak Balani, the Director General of the Indian Sugar and Bioenergy Manufacturers Association (ISMA), expresses this as a positive development considering higher sugar production next year. He also said that it will help mills balance stocks, keep prices in check, and ensure timely cane payments to farmers. The ISMA estimates that nearly 5 million tons of sugar can be diverted for ethanol production in the ethanol supply year 2025-2026. What do you think, sir?
Government's announcement about ethanol production from molasses and other sugarcane derivatives is desirable, and the notifications out. But remember, a government notification means little in view of the government's own flip-flops. It first banned sugar exports, then threatened to import, then it said that ethanol through the molasses route is the best, then it changed it to corn. The corn route was preferred, and now it's gone back to ethanol again. If the government flip-flops, no stable policy is possible. Yes, farmers will grow, but tomorrow if they decide to protect the corn lobby more because of North Indian politics, sugarcane farmers are up in trouble again. And there's a second issue which nobody is talking about. Encouraging Maharashtra to grow sugarcane any more than what it already does is suicidal. Sugar is a water-intensive crop, and Maharashtra has very little water, and that results in farmer suicides in Maharashtra, which has the largest number of farmer suicides. The notification is good, but let the government be clear about what it wants to do on a long-term basis. And that is where the government fails. Thanks, Saloni. Great story and great announcement. And that takes us to the third story, and that is by Sanjay on Tesla. Sanjay, come in.
So Tesla has finally brought the Model Y to India. And while there was a lot of excitement at first, the reality has been a little different from what many expected. Since opening up sales in July, the company has not only received a few hundred orders, that's much lower than what Tesla had hoped for. So they decided to ship fewer cars than originally planned. The first deliveries are set to start in September, beginning with cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Pune, and Gurugram. These places were chosen because Tesla already has a presence there, making it easier to set up showrooms and charging support. The cars are being shipped fully built from Tesla's Shanghai factory, so they'll be arriving ready to drive. The biggest challenge, though, has been price. Because of India's high import taxes, the Model Y is almost twice as expensive here compared to other countries. For most Indian buyers who are very price conscious, that makes the car hard to justify. Even though it comes with all the latest technology and performance features, the on top of that, India's electric vehicle network is still developing, so charging options are very limited outside big cities. Even with these hurdles, Tesla's launch is an important step. By starting small and testing the waters, the company is showing that it sees potential in India. The future will depend on whether Tesla chooses to make cars locally, bring down costs, and expand charging stations. And if they do, Tesla could eventually play a big role in shaping India's electric car movement. So, what do you think?
Well, the Tesla has been given the gold has been given all kinds of benefits, and now there's a move to reduce all tariffs on US goods to zero. Even if that happens, will customers take up Tesla? See, customers go for a product where the base is large because then you can get it serviced. With 600 cars in booked, more customers will be shy of taking up this car till it proves itself until the market base becomes large. And the second problem is the government's again flip flopped. At first, it said we'll promote ethanol mixing cars. Then it said we'll promote EVs, and now they've gone back to ethanol. What is the government's policy? I personally believe that ethanol mixed cars is a better option for India. But I don't know. The government flip flops all the time on policy. But yes, this is an important development because the flag bearers of US products in India are two: Apple and Tesla. Apple has so far survived because there's no one to sell in India as much as overseas. If the zero import regime stays and American products are given a favorable treatment over every other mobile phone, maybe Apple has a future. Tesla, let us see how the market laps it up. Thanks, Sanjay. Good story. Thank you. And that takes me to the end of the program, which is responding to questions and comments. But before I go there, my usual reminder, please click the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. Please click the like button. It helps us immensely. And most important, please tell all your friends about us. We are growing, but we'd like to grow faster. And your help will be invaluable. And that takes me to comments. Why can't the government make up its mind about sugar? Well, the answer, as I said earlier, is simple. The government has not been able to make up its mind whether it should focus on politics or policies. When North Indian elections are on, it favors politics and gives corn the primacy. When economics prevails, it favors molasses. Both corn and molasses are good routes to make ethanol, but molasses is cheaper. And corn is used largely for food production. Let's see what happens eventually. And the second question is about current account deficit. If current account deficit does not sustain, does it mean that the rupee will get weaker? The rupee is already weaker. A worsening current account deficit will make it wobble a little more at the knees. India has still not made up its mind how to deal with international trade. It says yes to some, it says no to some. Our only silver lining is that Russia has agreed to sell oil at even cheaper rates to India. That is saving our balance of payments, and that is allowing the rupee to remain a little more stable than before. And there's another question. With 50% US tariff and remittances tax kicking in, will the CAD nosedive? Yes, it could. If you put a tax on remittances will slow up. If you have a tariff, if you have a 50% tariff, American goods get more expensive. Indian goods can't penetrate, though the government is trying to persuade the US to have zero tariff for automobile components as well as pharmaceuticals. Given the past, I don't trust anything. Fingers crossed is my philosophy at the moment. And we see turbulence, much turbulence ahead. And that takes me to the end of today's story. today's session. I look forward to seeing you once again tomorrow. And as for today, have a wonderful day ahead. All the best.